Hey everybody, it's Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope you're having a good one. Wow, that was a lot of fun. So let me explain to you what happened. So I did like 6 minutes of a show. Problem is, I was streaming it to the wrong show. So when I do a show, we've got set up slots for each one of the shows. So I was streaming to Crypto Daily Live, and that's not the show that's queued up. It's Friday Flips. So it has been fixed. Hello, everybody. This is Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope all is well with you and yours. What's good? What's good? What's good? Holy moly. Hey, Paula, thank you for letting us know that you have indeed invested in yourself today. Let me see what else is going on. Tonight's question, as with every Friday, unless there's like big news, I just want to know that you've invested in yourself today. Did you invest in yourself today? Yes, no, doing it right now and loving it. Those are your only choices. Those are your only choices. So get with it. You'll start to get it. Now, a little bit of housekeeping, just a little bit. So I've been getting a lot of questions from a lot of people saying, hey, can you explain this a little bit more? And those kinds of questions are always on the shorts. They're always on the shorts. If you know people that are only flicking through and watching the shorts, tell them to watch the whole show, because that might actually help them to understand, because you're asking questions that I actually answered during the regular show. And so it might actually help them. So if you're one of those people, or if you know somebody that's like that, tell them to watch the whole show. That will get them the answers that they're seeking. Right? Whether it be from me or from somebody else in the community, but that's usually how the answers come across. Right? So over the past day, we've seen a lot of things go on. We saw that Nike reported great numbers, but their projections are kind of like, not so good, right? And the reason why they're not so good is because their Chinese sales have gone down, and they know that the cost of making the products is going up. And that's what they reported. So that didn't help them. Carnival Cruise Lines went up. And so because of that, also other cruise lines went up. Don't think that that's going to stay that way. I'm expecting them to go down again. I don't expect anything to go up and stay up. I'll put it to you like that. I'm expecting a nice little pop off of whatever earnings are announced and then return back to reality. Right? Even if it's a higher reality. You start here, you pop up to here, you wind up here. I could definitely see that. But I never expect something to stay there. I never expect something to stay up and stay there. I never expect that. There's always some kind of pullback, whether it be large, small, there's always some kind of pullback. It doesn't go like up and then over and then up again. Or let me rephrase. That can happen. But does it? Not really. You'll see something go up, a small pullback, even if it goes up again, pull back. You know what I mean? Even if it's going up like this, in that kind of trajectory, it'll go up like that. Right? That's usually how it'll work. Sometimes it'll even dip below, and it'll go up and then dip below the previous low and then shoot up again. These are the things that we pay attention to. But I never expect anything to go up in a straight line. It's a rarity, and I do not expect things to go up and stay there. Rarity, right? Anyway, just putting that out there so that people can get it. Citi had a big win. The bank, the Office of the Controller of the Currency, lifted part of Citigroup's compliance obligations on late yesterday, removing the 2024 consent order amendment requiring the bank to submit a resource review plan. The 2020 enforcement action remains active, but they don't have to do that. Now, what that means is they got caught doing something wrong. It was over data, right? You can go out there and you can actually do a lookup of the consent orders that any bank has, right? You can go see that stuff online. That's easy stuff. Go look it up, read it, get used to it. You'll see what I mean. So there was an amendment that was made that they have to have a resource review plan, meaning their employees and contractors needed to be reviewed for certain jobs. And they just removed that plan. It's the second time in 1 week that that's happened. I forgot the other bank that it happened to. Was it Wells Fargo or something like that? But another bank just got told, oh, yeah, you're not going to have to worry about something. Are you starting to realize that they're pulling back on some of those regulations? They're getting a little softer on those regulations for banks. Are you seeing it? Because I think it's going to wind up being a problem. I firmly believe that it's going to wind up being a problem for people. Right? Because you got in trouble before, and the consent order, because just because they remove the amendment doesn't mean that the consent order goes away. The consent order stays. They still have to do that work. But what that means is that it's gotten a little softer. So if that amendment is pulled, I'm expecting also whatever the OCC is reviewing is a little bit more gentle. Just remember, consent order means you messed up. You paid a little fine. I spoke about this a few months ago where, banks will run into things like this, and they basically treat it as the cost of doing business. Yeah, we messed up. But we made, let's call it $100. Yeah, we messed up. We made $100, and we have to pay, $10, $15, $20, as a fine. Yeah, we still walk away with all that money. That happens more often than not. That happens way more often than not. More often, financial institutions don't pay what they actually wound up making. It's you have to pay a significant amount, and that'll be it. That's why I tell people you got to pay attention to these things, because it actually is a very big deal that you understand what banks are doing, what banks are not doing, and all that other good stuff. Because if you or I got in trouble like that, we're not getting off so easy. Banks seem to get off easy. Just saying. So that consent order, pulling back on that, I'm going to be watching for more bank things. That's why I've been talking about banks more, because I'm starting to see how things are loosening up for banks. And I'm paying very close attention because it's starting to look like 2008 all over again. Really started back in 2007, if you really stop and think about it. But even then, so just saying, you want to start paying attention to these things. I am not the kind of person that's going to sit here and trust a bank. I'm not trying to leave money in a bank for too long. I'm going to leave what I need to leave in the bank to pay the bills and all that good stuff. That's what I feel a bank is good for, right? Until we can pay bills alternatively, I'm fine with that. That's one definition of a bank I like. Until we can figure out alternative methods for paying bills. Just saying. And it's starting to happen, right? You can start to see that it's definitely starting to happen. Right? It's not the holidays yet. It's not the holidays till next week. It's not the holidays. It's one day next week. But what up, D-Mac? Are you investing in yourself, young man? Just want to know. It looks like you changed your picture. Just happened to notice that. Yes, you invested in yourself. Thank you for letting us know. What else happened this week? Well, Fidelity's Jurian Timmer analyzed Bitcoin's halving cycle, noting a potential completion with support expected between 65,000 and 75,000. Yeah. Who's that optimal for? A lot of people sitting there and they're scratching their heads or they're panicking or whatever. Who is that optimal for? It's optimal for anybody who plans on buying, correct? That's what that is. Hey, Hutanic, thanks for letting us know you invest in yourself. That's what that is. Not that they're creating that situation. They're not. They're just reporting on that situation. But when I see that 65,000, 75,000 is what they think the floor is going to be, I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, who is going to benefit from that? And if Bitcoin hits 65, that's almost a 50% drop from its all-time high, right? It's 40 some odd percent. That's not small. 2 times 65 is 130. We were at 126. So what are you looking at? 47, 46, 47% as a drop. Remember what I said? I'm going to get out. I'm going to wait for it to fall. And then I'm going to get back in because that'll be a way for me to increase my value. That's a way for me to increase my value. I'll tell you something that happened to me a couple of months ago. I saw something and I pulled out of Bitcoin. I pulled everything out of Bitcoin. Some people are sitting there going, why would you do that? You're insane. Because Bitcoin was dropping. It was dropping like a hot rock. So I pulled out of Bitcoin. When I pulled out of Bitcoin, it popped back up a little bit. And I was like, damn. Oh, I messed up big. Except what happened? What happened was it came back down again and stayed there. So I was a little bit early. But it was the right decision. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. Don't FOMO into a decision. Absolutely invest deliberately. Be absolute in your decision. And whatever your decision is, do it deliberately. Just saying. All right, so okay, that has nothing to do with this, so we're going to get rid of that. What else is there? Ripple has expanded its long-standing partnership with TJM Investments by making a strategic investment in the firm to enhance institutional. I thought I covered that as an article. It's possible. Possible I missed it, because there was somebody that had cut a deal. Nope, I didn't cover it because that was the deal that I was just like, oh, they're just buying some Ripple. No, and that wasn't the deal. This is the deal. Thank you for that, DMAC. Greatly appreciate it. 8 pause. Did I miss anything? Okay. All right. What else do we have? Japan's increase to 0.75, 0.75, 3/4 of a point. Oh, 3/4 of a full basis point. It rose by 25, right? Yeah, so your carry trade, that's done. The free money ride has been done. People already knew that, and that's why I don't think there was that much of a shock. Because it happened a few months ago, right? Happened months ago, and that was the shock. When that happened, everybody was like, whoa, that could happen again. And they started paying more attention to what's going on in Japan. That's why when this one came around, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't think that's a big deal. And it wasn't. It turned out to be that it wasn't. Something else that happened today that I wanted to bring up, there was 7.1 billion. Is it billion in options? I would have to go look at my notes. I don't have everything in front of me right now. In options expiring, didn't have an effect. Did not have an effect. Exactly, Hutanik. It was basically priced in, but I don't think it got priced in on the idea that they were going to do it this time. I think it started getting priced in when it happened the first time. When it happened earlier this year, I think that's when everybody was like, holy crap. And they said, I don't want to be leveraged like that anymore. That was shocking. It was dangerous. I don't want to be in that position. So even though they might have kept going with those kinds of trades, it was basically diminished. So by the time this was going to happen, that you could actually see happening in the future from back then, you were kind of like, okay, so yeah, I'm not going to worry about that because I'm not as deeply in it. Right? So I don't think anybody was like shocked. Just is what it is. Sometimes things like that move. And that's just the way it is. DMAC, to your point, Ripple has expanded its long-standing partnership with TJM Investments by making a strategic investment in the firm to enhance institutional trade execution and clearing services for digital assets. What kind of impact do you think that's going to have on XRP? What kind of impact do you think that would have on RLUSD? No, I'm not asking to be funny. I'll tell you what my thought is. My thought is it's not going to have any damn impact right now. The reason why I say so is because I'm calling that out as an infrastructure move. It's an infrastructure move. It's not going to affect anything right now until people get on those rails. But this is the kind of thing that when people see it, they pay no mind to it. It's like, oh, okay, they made an investment. Okay, that's nice. Moving on, right? That's what a lot of these people do that are out here. It's just, no big deal. Yeah, moving on, yada, yada, yada. That's why I kept calling out, pay attention to infrastructure. And now we're in that phase where, yes, we're still paying great attention to infrastructure, right? But you better also start paying attention to implementation. So although this is an infrastructure move, they wouldn't have made the investment if they didn't see implementation actually happening, people wanting those rails. This is not a build it and they will come. This is they told you they want it, so you went and did it. Big difference. We're in that phase where infrastructure is still the biggest thing on the table, but now we must start paying attention to who is actually implementing moves. Who's actually maneuvering value, whether it be data or money, right? Data can be a title, a mortgage. It can be anything RWA. That's data. You're really moving data. And then that means you're moving value. It's just hard value versus cash value. We've got to start paying attention to that because those things are starting to seep in. If you look at all the news this past week, you start to see that seep in a bit. Okay, so RLUSD and XRP have no correlation. Huh? They both run as examples on XRPL. That was always the mission. One of the reasons why RLUSD was created was because they wanted to demonstrate that they can do it. That was the point, that they can do it and that they're more than willing to do it. Because who else is out there creating stable coins? Paxos, right? And other companies are out there creating stable coins for people. And Ripple is saying, we've got a better network, a better blockchain than them. You should do that over here. That was the example. And then what do they start doing? Well, if we're going to build it, we better start using it. And that's how they're going about it. XRPL is the blockchain. And I get your point, but I get your statement, but what is your point? Lieutenant, I'm not being funny. I understand your statement. What is your point? Or is it no, you're just making that statement? And D-Mac, I haven't heard from you about, the investment club idea that I have. I'm hurt. I know if you could kick me right now, you probably would. So yeah, you're looking at things right now that are actually happening that can actually affect what's going forward. What I'm paying attention to is what is Avalanche doing? There's an article I released earlier this week, and it was about what, just a statement, thank you, Hutanik, about what Avalanche is doing. Avalanche made a statement, a clear statement, Coolio, got you, D-Mac, that, hey, we can do a lot of stuff on our blockchain, and we're easy to build on. And I think people have also forgotten that Ethereum is actually easy to build on. It's actually very easy to build on. Base is built on Ethereum. Chainlink built on Ethereum. So many different things built on Ethereum. BNB built on Ethereum. So do you play chess? That's funny. So when I think about the platforms that are out there that are easy to be built on, whether it be an L1 and L2, right? I'm paying attention to, well, how many people are building on those? Chainlink happens to be a blockchain that's being built on a lot right now. And still, so is Solana. However, Solana's builders, loosely used in this case, I apologize, are still memers. So if you're you ever hear that term, vibe coder? That's how I think of these, meme people. They're just vibe coding. That's how I think about it. Because they're not actually building that. They're using an engine that does it for them. Boom, 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 boom. They're not thinking it through or anything else. They can change the numbers and all that good stuff, but they're just letting the engine do it. Excuse me. You know what game I want to play? I know how to play chess. I'm decent at it. I would not go to a tournament or anything like that. I want to learn how to play Mahjong. I think Mahjong is the game that's most apropos to investing. It's dawned on me a couple of times, but I've never really brought it up. That's one of the reasons why I want to learn how to play Mahjong. Mahjong will actually teach you. There are a couple of games that will teach you about life, teach you about investing, teach you about patience, teaching you about how to read the bigger picture and take action in the smaller moments. So if you listen to what I'm telling you, you must have your risk framework. Aren't I setting you up like that? Because if you have your risk framework, you're getting in touch with how you actually think. Because a lot of that happens back here. Your gut telling you, oh, don't do that, or your gut telling you, yeah, do that. That's all happening back here, and it's happening lightning fast. So you think of it, oh, I just don't feel right. My gut's telling me. It's really not your gut. It's you. It's you making a calculation, and that's giving you the heebie-jeebies about making a particular move. The fact is that when you really stop and think about it, you're thinking faster, calculating faster, and you don't actually know how you came to that conclusion. But if you stop and you think about every time your gut tells you something, if you sit down and write it down, type it out. I know I'm old. I get it. But if you make note, of what your decision was, what the ultimate outcome was, and what it would have been had you done something because your gut didn't tell you. You see how that goes? And don't mistake your gut with, I got busy and totally forgot about it. So I realized when I didn't buy ton, it wasn't my gut telling me not to do it. It was I was sidetracked doing something else, so I didn't do it. At the beginning, it was my ignorance for not doing my own research. Yours truly is not perfect. Just saying. So if I'm not perfect, I'm pretty sure none of you are too. Or either. Because I can hear my mother now. Boy, you said that wrong. Yeah. I'll hear about it later. She listens. But the idea is that you pay attention to what you actually have going on and you make note of your decisions so that you can go back and refer to previous decisions, previous thought processes, what was also on your mind, and you start to realize, oh, wow, I do have some semblance of a risk framework. I just need to put it in a language that up here I can understand instead of just back here. Just saying. Nuts. So for a few of you, I just froze. I'm going to tell you, I know that funny things have been going on. I know that YouTube was down earlier this morning, so I apologize about that. Mahjong, I think is the way to go. I really do think it's the way to go. and what's the other one? Paisho. But I want to learn Mahjong. One of my friends, I think, knows how to play it, so I'm going to ask her to teach me. Yeah, it's one of my boys' wives. I think she knows how to play it. I don't really want to play against her because she's a math whiz, so I don't want to really play against her. Everything's math. It's just a different way of calculating, right? But yeah, Mahjong is a way to think. But Hutanik, back to your point, understanding what's a trade and what's an investment, that's over here when you compared to when you have your risk register. I mean, your risk framework. Your risk framework will tell you what's a trade and what's an investment, because your risk framework is going to tell you this is long-term or short-term. That's what it's going to tell you. It's also going to tell you, why are you making this investment? See what I mean? You start to realize what's going on. Sorry, just had dinner. And Hutanik, I really wish you stopped making statements like that. This is too centralized. That's too centralized. You're comparing apples to meatballs. Two completely different technologies. I would like to understand, every time you say that, have you given thought to how, in this situation, how would YouTube operate as a decentralized thing? Like, what is your definition of decentralization? Because they are decentralized. Most sophisticated networks that are out there are extremely decentralized. But you can have a software problem that can bring you down. You can have many different things that can bring you down. So not everything is it's too centralized. That's, like I said, apples to meatballs, totally different things. And what data would you be moving that would be smart to do on a blockchain? Or how would you decentralize, a service or a platform like that? Because it's not a word that's associated with that kind of network. You know what I mean? It's completely different. Completely different. And you know what? I'm just not going to pay attention anymore, because you come up with these lines and they don't mean anything in the general context of the conversation. So I'm not going to worry about it right now. My concerns this week, my concerns going forward are, remember I told you guys that I'm still trying to make that list of what are the risks, and trying to pay attention to what are the positives that I see that could happen. Right now, my risk list is still by far outweighing my positive side. And I just cannot see how 2026 is going to be not as volatile as I think it's going to be. I absolutely think it's going to be volatile, right? Because what's the best that we have to hope for? We get more ETFs, but ETFs are going to come and they're going to implode. There'll be a great culling, right? I just don't think there'll be a consolidation. I just think there'll be a culling. The only way there'd be a consolidation is if one financial institution decides to buy another financial institution. And I don't know that that's going to happen at those kinds of levels. You know what I mean? Just because, you have some ETFs that we want. It did happen to 21 shares, though. Falcon X bought 21 shares. So that would be an example. But I don't think that's going to be like all the time, because I don't need to buy you to get those customers. I could just sit there, lay back in the cut, and wait for you to go out of business. Right? And I also see a great culling, because I don't see how you're differentiated against all of the other ones. So how many, XRP ETFs are there? How many Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, SUI? I start to look at, how many are there of each one of them, and start to go, whoever the biggest is, they're going to survive. Whoever the smallest is, they're going to go away, and then the biggest will get that business. Eventually, I think that's what's going to wind up happening, because I think there'll be ETF overload, the same way that I think that there'll be a stablecoin overload. I don't see how the proliferation of stablecoins continues in a fruitful manner, right? Like we're seeing, so we've got SoFi USD. That's awesome. What are you doing with it? You made the announcement that you have it, but now what are you going to do with it? Are you going to be one of those companies that's going to go for institutional things, and you're going to try to move money via the stable coin and get somebody to cut deals using your stable coin, so your stable coin goes like that, just like USD1? Is that what you're going to do? Because that, to me, that's a BS stable coin, right? If you're looking to move value, why would I use your stable coin when I have other L1s and L2s that move faster or provide me other services that I actually want? Right? I can move value very quickly with Chainlink, with Ethereum, with Avalanche, with XRP, with Hedera, and the list just goes on and on and on and on and on. So what do I need your stablecoin? And I do look at SoFi USD, and I'm kind of like, well, they're SoFi USD, so they're really friends with Morgan Stanley. So is there a chance that there would be a back and forth between SoFi and Morgan Stanley? And the other question would be, and why? Right? Swift is coming up with their own blockchain. I forgot who they're going to be building on. I don't think I ever found out who they're building on. You know, what blockchain they're building on. So you start to realize, like, wow, okay, when I look at the future, what is the future really all about? It's the moving of value, whether it be funds, property, or pure data. Those are the three things, right? I'm just moving some information around, or I'm doing RWA. So I'm moving actual property, something of value, right? Data is value, money is value, right? Everything is value, but now we're just adding some specificity to it. So those are the things that I see going forward. What else do we see going forward? Oh, I can see efficiencies in some markets or in some industries, right? So as you do RWA, titles become tokenized. Now I have an efficiency with titles, and I probably no longer need a title search company. And what does that do? It shrinks my cost, doesn't it? I don't need to pay thousands of dollars to have somebody do a title search, because once this title comes back and everybody agrees that this title is good, right? On the day of transfer, everybody attests that this title is good. Boom, blockchain, please. Deeds, titles being put on the blockchain. It would wipe out home theft, right? Because at some point you'd have to go to battle. You'd have to figure out, okay, so now I have to go fight for my house because somebody stole my house out from under me, which means it's on you to fight it. But that means that somebody forged documents and some financial institution fell for it. So I would fight that tooth and nail, because I'm not going to be responsible for the mortgages that you gave out. Nope. You got taken. You got defrauded. I got robbed, but my property isn't going away. I can prove that it's still mine. Right? So there's that. So there are a lot of things that I look at that I'm kind of like, how do those three things affect going forward when I'm looking at blockchain tech, when I'm looking at existing processes and things like that? I don't see huge positivity from that. Yes, I can save money, I can move things faster, all that good stuff. But does that trickle down to we're going to make big money off of those moves? Efficiency gains are nice, but it doesn't compare to actually making money. It's a good thing, but it's not as good as making money. And that's where the problem comes in. We've all got to sit down and figure that out. So is it easy? No, it's not. Infrastructure, implementation, the two I's, I squared basically. Infrastructure, implementation, right? Because if you're implementing something, that means you're going to be using it. So now I need to know, oh, you're going to implement that? Great. When are you going to start using it? That's what I need to know. That's what I need to know. So that's the timeline that I'm looking for whenever I hear this stuff. Somebody's building an infrastructure. Great. Who do they think is going to use it? That's immediately where I go. Who do they think is going to use it? And why do I ask that question? Because maybe I was late in investing over here, but I can be dead on time investing over here. Sometimes it's all about just identifying opportunity. Questions, answers, anything else like that. Because this Friday night, I can go relax. Working on some stuff right now. Like I said, my guys are still up. Working on a new homepage, things like that. So it's kind of interesting to us what we have going on. I was hoping to have a couple of things like ready to rock and roll and show you guys tonight. That didn't work out. Well, technically it did. I'm just not showing it. Go to the site. You'll start to see stuff. I noticed big baggers haven't been there in a long time. I haven't seen any posts from anybody in like freaking forever. I'm going to go look now. Yeah, all the posts are from me and the rest of the staff. Posting about different articles, different points. I posted something the other day. Actually, wow. Yeah, you guys aren't doing anything. Like, what the heck? What the heck? Last big bagger, the last few posts on the big baggers, me. Where are you guys at? But on the other side, yeah, we're posting articles, we're posting links to articles, we're posting a whole bunch of stuff. Log in. There's a lot of stuff to see. There's a lot of stuff to do. Keep the conversations going. Ask questions. In about 2 seconds, we'll be able to connect to each other and have direct conversations and things like that. Because as soon as we have that turned on, that's going to be the main way that you're going to be able to talk to me. I mean, unless you have my phone number, but you get the idea. Like, all chatting is going to happen there. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. You looked at it the other day. Well, what'd you think? You looked at it the other day. You didn't even leave me a note or anything. What's that about? That's not nice. It'll make me cry. And there you go. There you go. And we have to turn on when somebody mentions you in a post that it sends you a notification. So we have a page for notifications that we need to turn on. Right now, it really comes down to, do we like the way it looks? We're there. Functionality is there. We're just, don't turn it on until we like the way it looks. And I make a decision once it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. If you look at all of the other social media platforms and you look at how they've grown up, thank you for that. Over the holidays, you'll log in. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you. When you go on, you'll start to see like different little things and stuff like that. But the notifications, if it's 6 of one, half dozen the other, okay, it's good to go. That's literally how we shoot for it. Because when you look at, like I said, when you look at the trajectory of everybody else and how they implemented everything, it looks like this today. And 3 months from now, there have been small, tiny changes, and all of a sudden it looks completely different. And you just keep going like that. You just make changes, make it, advancements, add more polish, do this, do that, which is what the team is working on right now on a Friday night. Yeah. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff. I told you guys what it was. Yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Yesterday or the day before? No, it was the day before. 42 articles in a day. I told my friend about I sent him one of the articles about Warren Buffett, and he wrote back to me. He goes, Yeah, I read the source article, and in my head I'm going, there are many source articles. You know what I mean? Like there are many sources where you could get that from. That's a nice way of putting it. Just reading comments. That's a nice way of putting it. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. For all my big baggers, you guys can already log in. You can continue your conversations and things like that, and we can all see it. We can all chime in. In a little while, you'll be able to have DMs back and forth. You'll be able to have private conversations. I can't wait for that to happen. I was looking at Threads today, and Threads does not have that. Threads does not have DMs. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Didn't realize that. Right? Because it's Facebook, Instagram, Threads. Oh, don't forget WhatsApp. But it's really, those are the three social media platforms as far as I'm concerned. So it's very interesting to me. DMAC, thank you. Everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your patience. And absolutely thank you for your trust. Sometimes I think patience is is higher than trust. Sometimes your time is higher than patience and trust, and sometimes trust is higher than everything. But those are the three main things that I'm truly thanking you for. And I'm thanking you all for, continuing to smash the likes and share the content and sharing, this community with your friends. Greatly appreciate it. I'm hoping that this community really does take off, because there are so many people out there that don't have any idea about what investing is, let alone how to do it. So I'm hoping that we get a lot more people and we can help them learn, and we can all grow our bags. Everybody have a great night. I'll see you Sunday for the Sunday Roundup. All right. Everybody have a great time, and thank you. Bye-bye.